Now we bring down the discussion to motor insurance because whether or not your vehicle is insured will be a moot question. If not, if it isn't insured, very soon you may not be able to get petrol or diesel to power your car. Sources are telling us here on ET Now that the central government is considering the proposal of insurance companies to implement a no insurance, no fuel policy for all types of vehicles. My colleague here at ET Now, Anurag Shah, has filed a report about this.
Recently, IRDAI chairman has said that 50% of vehicles running on roads are uninsured, and which is a very big gap need to be filled. There is a proposal from insurance companies to have a no insurance, no fuel policy to be implemented, and there is a second proposal to link insurance policies with FASTag, but which can only be used for vehicle running on highways. But there is a big number of two-wheelers running without insurance. There is 65% of two-wheelers running on roads are without insurance. So if no insurance, no fuel policy is implemented, large number of two-wheelers can be brought into the gambit of insurance, and the implementation of this policy is also not challenging because with the change in technology, with the Vahan portal, where all data is linked of insurance policy, of vehicle details, data is linked. So on a single click, it can be known which vehicle coming to the fuel station is insured and which is not insured. Because in India, every year, there are more than 5 lakh accidents are happening in which around 1.5 lakh people are losing their lives. And mostly the people are of age group 18 to 45 years. So without insurance, they don't get compensation also. And as per Motor Vehicle Act also, any vehicle running on road should be third party insured. So it will be a game changer if this policy of no insurance, no fuel gets implemented.
How much of a game changer can this be? Let's find out, and the possibility of implementing it, because critics are saying that this is going to be a tough one to implement, but can technology come to the rescue? Let's find out from our experts. D K Sarraf is former Chairman and Managing Director of ONGC. He's joining us on this discussion, along with Kranti Sambhav, the editor and lead at Times Drive. Kranti Sambhav, already the law says that unlicensed underage drivers in cars without a pollution control certificate cannot be sold fuel. Now, the proposal is not to sell fuel to those without a valid car insurance. How do you see this getting implemented? Do you see hurdles to it, even if the law mandates it on paper?
In practicality, thank you, Vikram, for having me. First thing which the first reaction which I remembered after hearing this update was the implementation part was kind of given to one more layer is added. So if you look at wherever, whether it's metros or small towns, whenever we go to a fuel station, at that time the kind of crowd we see, practicality, ground level, I'm not too sure how are we going to help this or speed it up with the help of technology. But I'm sure if we implement this kind of check, this kind of scanning, this will definitely increase the number of the cars or motorbikes which are insured. But at the same time, if you look at the story you also mentioned about the road safety figures or road accident figures, a similar thing happened when you come up with some kind of new penalty or more challans, more expensive challans, but at the same time, if they're not implemented properly, somehow it doesn't work. Even if you look at the numbers from 2020 to 2021, the numbers increased only, even when we had the new Motor Vehicle Act in place. So in this case, I think involvement of one third party where the fuel pump station employees are involved. Maybe metros where most of the media eyes would be there, cameras would be there, and everyone would be talking about it. But I'm not too sure about rural areas where this is big problem, where motor vehicles, whether it's a car or a motorcycle, they're not insured. So in those areas, I still feel that we need to use more technology to scan them, map them, and then ask them to insure their vehicles.
So that infrastructure needs to be put in place. Mr. Sarraf, do you see that as a possibility? Because right now we are actually mulling this rule because people are not buying motor insurance, something that they should. There is a huge underpenetration when you talk about the auto insurance coverage in India, the IRDAI says that over 50% of vehicles running on Indian roads are not insured. So this gap is large and it hasn't been covered in recent times. I'm just wondering how much has been covered, but even as that figure may be large, I want to know from you why you think, in your understanding and experience, why we are such an underpenetrated market when it comes to motor insurance. Why are people not buying it, considering that we have such high numbers of road accidents?
No, I think the people who are not insuring their vehicles, even for third-party insurance, are not buying the insurance maybe because of their own laziness or because of their own economic reasons. But the numbers which have been just told, that more than 50% of the vehicles are not insured, and this number is increasing, the non-compliance is increasing. This is very, very alarming, and this is a matter of concern for road safety, for the purpose of even compensation to the people who are killed in the accidents or who meet with serious injuries. So, as was just told, that there could be technology could be brought in, because all this data, whether it is pollution control certificate or the insurance, whether the insurance has been done or not, and even whether the motor vehicle is more than 15 years old in case of petrol and more than 10 years old in case of diesel, even that is also a matter of concern, which has been recently raised in Delhi by the NGT. So all these things are available in the national database. So I think the technology can help us if some screening arrangement is there, which is digital, and only those vehicles are allowed to enter the petrol pumps which have all which comply to all these requirements. Of course, I mean, in the beginning there would be a lot of confusion at the petrol pumps, but nevertheless, I mean,
Yes.
this needs
There
to be
would
done.
be teething troubles, like Kranti Sambhav is also pointing out, and perhaps the coverage may not be as large right up front, but it takes a beginning. But Kranti Sambhav, in terms of this rule coming into play, it took insurance companies to write to the government and ask for a rule of this kind. In terms of the products that they bring to the table compared to world standards, how do you think India is placed in terms of motor insurance products and how they are marketed? Do you think more needs to be done on that front, or this rule was really required?
Oh, this rule was definitely required, Vikram, because as Mr. Sarraf also mentioned, that so many people, they don't get their cars or motorcycles registered. I mean, one aspect is definitely laziness and not proper awareness, but at the same time, they are also okay with moving in those vehicles without without any fear of implementation or challans or local authorities, or police catching them. Because as I mentioned, I've seen this disparity, or I've seen this contrast when we, when you roam around in big cities, metros. At that, those places, if you look at the fuel stations, they don't even give you. If you go with a jerry can or something, they generally don't give you fuel in that. But in small cities or rural areas, that keeps happening. So those kind of that physical distance geographically, if you look at, that is going to be a challenge. But at the same time, I think this was needed because compensation wise also, and plus B, I think there is a gap of information and awareness, because when we talk about awareness, because if you look at Indian customers, they're very, very critical about the maintenance bit. And if we tell them, if they get to know that if they're not insured, there won't be any compensation. Not only if there's some accident, but at the same time, if it meets with an accident, the product is damaged. So in those scenarios, I also feel that there is a gap of information awareness in smaller cities or maybe rural areas, where they say, okay, it's okay.
So I don't know
I just
whether
take it
a
out.
rule of this kind can actually change that scenario. And Mr. Sarraf, since we are running out of time, I also wanted to know from you, as far as implementation is concerned at fuel pumps, do you see any kind of resistance coming in where petrol pumps will be reluctant to give fuel to those not having these insurance policies? Because, it's business at the end of the day.
I think before implementation of this, the government should take into consideration the concerns of the petrol pumps and give them, sufficient time to create such infrastructure, or the government itself, namely the either the environmental authorities or the insurance authorities, they should create this infrastructure, or the petrol pump should create the infrastructure. So, as a major stakeholder, their concern should be taken into account.
In fact, this is the need of the hour. There's no doubt about it, because if you look at a recent World Bank report, which is called Traffic Crash Injuries and Disabilities, which I'm looking at right now, India accounts for as much as 11% of all road fatalities worldwide, and the highest in the world, despite owning only 1% of all vehicles. So the numbers are actually quite staggering. And the report also reveals that the country accounts for about 4.5 lakh road crashes every year, which means about 50 crashes every hour, killing one person every 4 minutes. Obviously, this is going to have a bearing on the kind of financial assistance that would be available to those who get injured, who lose their lives, and the kind of number of accidents and fatalities that take place. Of course, it's an ongoing discussion, and we'll see how this rule gets implemented. But thank you so much, Kranti Sambhav and Mr. Sarraf, for joining us on this discussion on India Tonight.
Thank you.